Bread has always intrigued me, yet I never really dedicated much time to learning the skills necessary to be a good baker. This all ended when I retired. One of my first goals I set when I retired was to learn how to make a great loaf of sourdough bread.
I'm Chef Michael Salmon. I've been working in professional kitchens since I was 15 years old. I would like to invite you into my kitchen as I prepare recipes from my 2 cookbooks and my European foodie trips to Italy, France, and Spain. So let's get into the kitchen.
This video is the second video in a 3-part series on sourdough bread making. In the first video, we learned to make the leaven, the dough, and we took the dough through the bulk fermentation stage. In this video, we will shape the dough, proof it, and then bake the bread. In the final video of the series, part 3, we will go over inclusions, things like olives, cheese, nuts, grains, and dried fruits that you add to the dough to take your sourdough to the next level. So let's get on to shaping the dough.
It's been in the bulk fermentation stage for 3.5 hours. I'll just take a little flour on my cutting board here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do the initial shaping of it. So we're going to stretch it up, fold it back down, stretch it back, fold it back down, stretch the side, fold it in, stretch the other side, fold it in, and then just put it seam side down. Make a nice little loaf shape out of it. Okay? Then I've got the olive loaf here. Same thing here, we're going to stretch, fold it back on top of itself, stretch, fold it back on top of itself, the sides in, and form a little loaf out of it. And then we've got the mushroom. A little more flour down here, and same thing. Just gonna stretch it, pull it, stretch it, pull it, stretch the sides in, and you can see the dough is a little bit darker color, and that's because we use the soaking liquid from the dried mushrooms to make the dough, so that coloring went into the dough itself. So now we're gonna let those sit for 30 minutes on the counter, and then we'll come back and prepare them for proofing. Okay, now it's time for the final shaping of our dough. So we've got our dough balls here. They've been resting for 30 minutes. I'm just going to flip them over so the seam side's back up again. And what I'm going to do is stretch it really long and fold that first piece over. Then I'm stretching side by side all the way down from the top. Just kind of a stitching pattern. Tucking all the shallots back in that are falling out. Now what I'm doing is rolling it really tight, creating some tension on the outside skin of it. So really tucking it in as I go. And get this nice loaf. I'm going to try to create more of an oval long shape with this one to go in this oval Benetton. Okay, so I've got some rice flour here. A little bit of down on the inside, really get this coated all over with the rice flour. And then I have some kamut. It's a grain from Africa. Corzon wheat is what it is. And I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of that right in the bottom just to give a little texture on the finished loaf. Now I've got the seam side up here. I'm going to put it right in like that. And we'll go on and do these other 2 loaves. So the plain sourdough loaf, seam side up, stretch it long, turn the first little bit over, and then stitch side to side. Pull and stretch, pull and stretch. And then you get to the bottom. Now I'm rolling it up tight, creating that tension on the top. All the way over. I'm going to shape this more of a round shape. Okay, so same thing. Got the round banetones for this one. A little bit of the kamut flour down. Nice rubbing of rice flour and into the banetone. Now the olive loaf. Stretch it long. Stitch side to side. Pull it, stretch it, and then a tight roll at the end. You just see those olives bursting through the surface there. A little rice flour down in the banetone. Nice coating on top. Oop, kamut down. And we're ready to go. So I took a tea towel that I had and I cut it into smaller pieces, little squares. And the nice thing about this, the reason we put this in is it absorbs some of the moisture. So so we're going to be covering it with plastic. I've got these reusable plastic bowl covers, which are really, really great. You can get those on Amazon and use them over and over and over again. And what happens is the moisture hits moisture will hit the top of the plastic and then come back down and hit the dough. But with the tea towel in there, it prevents that from happening. So now these are going to go in my refrigerator overnight, and I'll be baking these in the morning. So you want 8 to 12 hours or so to proof, kind of proof slowly in the refrigerator. And then we'll bake those tomorrow morning, first thing. So our dough sat in the refrigerator overnight. Now we're ready to bake. So we're going to take the plastic off, pull off the tea towel, and you can see they're quite damp. And we want this to rest at room temperature for about an hour to warm up a little bit before it goes into the oven. So there's a little excess flour on some of these, so I'm just going to knock some of that off. I don't want any big chunks of flour on there. Be careful not to eliminate all the beautiful lines that the banetone left on there. Okay. Then we'll take the bread lamb, just score a few. We're going to make the wheat pattern over here. And what this does is it opens the bread and kind of tells the bread where to break, because it's going to break on its own anyways when you're baking it. So at least you're controlling it a little bit this way. Good. We're all set. We're going to let those sit for about an hour. Okay, we're going to turn our oven on to 480 degrees. And we're going to put the Dutch ovens in the oven. These are nice, heavy, enameled Dutch ovens. And their lids. Get their lids in there too. let those preheat.
Gently drop the bread into the preheated Dutch ovens. Put the lids on and bake for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, remove the lids. Reduce the oven heat to 465 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for another 15 minutes. Remove the bread to wire racks to cool. In the final video of the series, part 3, we will go over inclusions. Now that you know how to make sourdough bread, it's time to take it to the next level by adding things like olives, cheese, nuts, grains, and dried fruits. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and are inspired to recreate it at home. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below, and I would appreciate a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment below if you have any suggestions or requests for future videos. Check out my website at chefmichaelsalmon.com for recipes, my online store with links to my favorite tools and ingredients, and information on my 2 cookbooks.